Hi, welcome to Amanda's Book Corner. I'm Amanda, and this is my review of Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. So this book came out about a year ago, and I've wanted it ever since, and I actually did end up buying it several months ago, and I was just waiting for the right time to read it. So in early October is when I read it, and it's still October at the time of this filming, so I think this video might be coming up a little bit late, but it is October right now for me. So I thought it was perfect time for spooky season, but it's also Latinx Heritage Month, at least for a few more days. So it kind of fits the bill for two different things that are going on right now. So I thought it was perfect timing to read this. Cemetery Boys focuses on Yadriel. He's 16 and he's facing a lot of struggles right now. On the one hand, he's transgender and he's trying to be understood and accepted by his family, who's having a hard time understanding his gender identity. Along with that, he's also reached the age when people of his community either become a brujo or a bruja. Now, his family thinks that he should become a bruja, but he doesn't have the kinds of skills that his mother or grandmother or aunts have. He isn't meant to be a bruja. Because he is a trans boy or a trans man, he really thinks that he is ready to become a brujo. And in fact, he should have become one after he turned 15 a year prior to this. But his family is not allowing him to go through the ceremony to become a brujo. So when the book begins, Yadriel and his cousin Maritza decide to go and take matters into their own hand and do the ceremony on their own so that he can finally become a brujo, with or without his family's approval. And right after he goes through the ceremony, successfully I might add, thank you Lady Death, right after he goes through the ceremony and he becomes a brujo with the powers that brujos have, he and Maritza find out that their cousin Miguel has just died. So their family is going all over trying to find his body so they can do the proper ceremony, see if he can become a ghost for a little bit before passing on to the next realm. But mysteriously, they cannot find him. They have no notion of where his body actually is, and that's highly unusual. So with his newly acquired powers, Yadriel and Maritza decide to go and summon Miguel's ghost. But first they need to find his portaje. They end up finding the portaje in the old chapel in the earlier part of the cemetery where they live. And he does a summoning, and it's not Miguel that shows up. It's some other guy named Julian, who is, or was, their classmate at high school. It's a big school though, so they didn't really know each other that well. So it seems that Julian has just been murdered, and that's also mysterious, and they're trying to work through what that means. So before getting rid of Julian and sending him on to the next realm, Yadriel and Maritza end up deciding to help him. And he's kind of helping them too along the way. Julian just wants to make sure that his friends are safe because he was with some friends at the time of his apparent murder. Not that he remembers exactly what happened or who killed him. So we have a little bit of a mystery on our hands, and it's up to these three to kind of solve the mystery. So it feels a little bit Nancy Drew, and I will say I loved Nancy Drew growing up. It was one of my two favorite series when I was a kid into my teenage years. And it was fun seeing these three Latinx characters going around East LA trying to figure out what happened, where the bodies are missing, because Julian and Miguel are both missing bodies at this point, and kind of just solving what's going on and if there's some bigger danger in their community. This book gets into a lot of really deep and important themes that I really liked seeing. So first and foremost, you see how Yadriel is a transgender boy, and this book really does get into the kinds of struggles he's facing with his gender identity, but moreover with the way his family and his classmates perceive him, and like how they misgender him and say his dead name, and how they don't really accept him as he is. I think it's just really important to see more transgender and non-binary and agender and gender non-conforming characters in books, and I think Yadriel is a really great one in this book. You also see some of the more intimate nuances of his gender identity. I mean, he wears a binder on his chest to help him look more masculine. He's kind of self-conscious about how short he is, and you see all these different nuances and themes that play out with his gender identity, and how some people accept him and always get his name and gender right, and how others struggle. Like his abuela, she needs to do better. In addition to his gender identity, we also see how this dovetails with queer sexuality. Yadriel is not just transgender, he's also gay. The ghost he summoned, Julian, also happens to be gay. And again, we get to see these different queer identities and see them celebrated and accepted, and see what these characters go through based on their gender and sexuality. These characters are also Latinx, and I really love seeing not only the different struggles that they face as a Latinx community, but also the different cultural elements that really bring their lives to life. On the one hand, we see how the Latinx community in the United States can face difficulties. It's not a main plot point, but you see how some of the characters have had parents and other family members deported. You also see differences in the uses of language and how much you speak English versus Spanish, and what it means to speak Spanish and how that is tied to specific people in your life and your culture. And of course, these are Brujex characters, and the book takes place in the days leading up to Dia de los Muertos, which is a big part of Mexican culture. I think it's specifically Mexican, and what it means to be a brujo or a bruja. Along with that, another big theme here is family dynamics. So in Yadriel's case, his mom died less than a year before this book begins. And she was the one who really was the most understanding and accepting of his gender identity. And we see how he and his father are grieving the loss of his mother, and also the excitement of being able to see her again over the couple of days of Dia de los Muertos, because in this book they get to see their loved one as a ghost for a few days before she goes again back to the other realm where she's now residing. Julian's family dynamics are a little bit more tricky. His mother left and his dad is dead, and Julian has really been raised by his older brother. And we see his difficult family situation, but we also see some nice themes of found family and how some of his friends who come from broken families of their own, how they have kind of a safe space with him and his brother. And it's a reliable place that they can go if there's something going on with at home, they have another place to go and still have a roof over their heads. And it's just really nice to see this found family and how they're there for people that need it the most. Yadriel and Julian are such different characters, and Maritza too, to be fair. While Yadriel is very quiet and studious and careful and likes to plan ahead, Julian is the opposite. He is extremely energetic and he's quick to anger and he's easily distracted. He was definitely not a studious student. And although they're complete opposites in a lot of ways, I really like how they form such a strong bond with each other. I like how Julian, despite him seeming like a bad boy and being just kind of all over the place, he's one of those few people that really accepts and understands Yadriel right away. This might be because he's also gay and has close friends who are also in the LGBTQ+ community. But I like how he offers a different perspective to Yadriel that I think helps Yadriel have more power from himself, more internal power, instead of relying on his family's acceptance to kind of come into himself. This is a really wholesome book, but it's also a mystery, and there's also a lot of exciting stuff going on. And as I got closer to the end, there were a couple of things that I guessed ahead of time, and I ended up being right, and I was like, yes, I got it right. But there was at least one twist that I didn't see coming, so I'm not going to say what that is, but I thought it was pretty exciting. And actually the whole ending was pretty exciting. I flew through it. It was nerve-wracking, but I just really enjoyed it. I can't really tell you more, but it was a great ending, I think. And then we finally get some closure at the end that's, more peaceful and kind of seeing the light at the end of that tunnel, so to speak. Cemetery Boys is a really great book. I absolutely loved it. I've kind of been moving away from YA books recently, just because I feel like they don't always quite get where I want them to go. I love the premises of them. I love the diversity that I see in YA books, but sometimes the stakes aren't quite there, or maybe the execution is just a little bit too young. And to be fair, it's written for a younger audience, so I'm not saying anything bad about YA books. But I have been kind of moving away from them recently. But despite all that, I think that Cemetery Boys was an excellent book, and I think it really packs a punch, whether you're a teenager or whether you're an adult like me. I think it's just a really great book, and it's a kind of book that I think that I would recommend to pretty much everyone. I think it really brought out a lot of important themes, but it was also fun, it was also mysterious. It was just a really cute story, and I enjoyed the whole thing. So in the end, I gave it 4.5 stars. And this is Aiden Thomas's first book, so I'll be happy to read more from them in the future. I know they have a new book that came out earlier this year, Into the Neverwoods, and there's another book coming out next year that I'm pretty sure, so I'll definitely be reading more in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this review video, and if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos like this one, please ring the bell so you don't ever miss one. I have been reading a lot lately, so you can expect to see at least 1 or 2 book reviews every week. And in the coming months, I'll start making additional content as well, so you don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!